Let's get out the yardstick. You've reached Talking with Dr. Terry, 180 Seconds to a Better You, message number 80. I'm Dr. Terry Wurzbacher, and this call goes out to Tim in Connecticut. Remember when you were young and every year, or maybe even more frequently, your parents lined you up against the door jamb? I had to look it up. Did you know there's a difference between door frames and jambs? Those are several minutes I'll never get back. Anyway, parents do this to measure a child's growth. It also gives the kids a good feeling to visualize all those marks rather than just hearing the words, "Oh my, how you've grown." Most kids I know were disappointed and discouraged if their marks weren't as far apart as their peers were. No matter how much a parent, teacher, doctor, or anybody else told them they would most likely have a growth spurt, they still walked around with their head hung low until the next time for measurement. Why do we stop having visual cues for our growth? We have them for so many other things, such as using an old-fashioned thermometer to show how much money your church has raised for its roof fund, let's say. Visual marketing is rampant. Everything is in an infographic now, except our personal growth. I'll give you an example. Back in 2020 or 2021, I decided I wanted to read more now that I was retired. Every time I finished a book, I wrote it on my whiteboard underneath that year. From just a look at the board, I could see whether I was on track or falling behind my goal. I didn't even have to read the titles. As the year goes on and more books are listed, I may have to count them and write the number down so that I can see what I have to do still to make my goal. Runners do this sometimes when they log their runs, especially if they log their miles on a wall calendar so they can see the entire picture. People often use countdown calendars, crossing off a date leading to their retirement or some other special event. What about all your other forms of growth, though? Do you even know what they are? Can you itemize them? Is there a metric you can use for each one? Let's say you're trying to stop cursing. You can take another hint from your mom and grandmother every time you're caught, and as an adult you should catch yourself. You put a quarter in the swear jar. I'd recommend, though, going with inflation and maybe imposing some tariffs even, and put more than a quarter in the jar, but you get the idea. I'd love to know if you can list the areas you're working on improving, whether it's changing a habit, establishing a routine, or anything else. I would bet that you might forget a few if you don't write them down. There should be personal growth, professional, spiritual, financial, social, family, etc., whatever works for you. But in each category, you also need to describe where you are and where you want to be, just as you would with a big goal. This is chunking your life at its finest, putting down on paper, making a visual graphic, kind of like we talked about when we talked about goals. The graphic will help you imprint it in your mind. I hope I didn't make you uncomfortable. I want you to be proud of your marks on the wall.